Guys, what's going on? What's going on? How's it going, guys? It's good to see you. Good to see you guys. What's going on? Guys, the day shift is here again. Let's go, right? Hey guys, there's this guy. I think I talked about him once on the after hours on Sunday, guys. And he's a therapist, and he was on this podcast, and he's been going viral because how he talked to these two modern women, right? And yeah, guys, we're gonna go over his clip that he did where he's talking about why men are just not dating, right? We'll look at that. So hold on, guys. Divorce 1 second. Let's do this. And then give me one more thing here, guys. 1 sec. Oops. 1 second. Delete. Okay, there we go. Steve, what's up, dude? Tim Hicks, what's up, man? Roblox is here. Mantis is here. What's going on, guys? Guys, here's the link. Anyone who's come on up, guys, because we'll do the first 20 minutes for everyone in the chat, and then we will go members only. So, guys, make sure that you hit the join button for a membership, guys. Guys, memberships really help the channel. Guys, first of all, let's do this. Let's do this. And let's do this. Guys, let's break some news first, all right? Let's break some news. Sweet guys, we have Colin, the co-anchor today, going on for 3NN News, right? Let's do this. 1 second here. Here we go. So, guys, first of all, let's look at is Al Jazeera copyright? I know, but they're trying to. Yeah. Either way. Look at that. Disgusting. Do that friggin'. Look at this. Guys, I'm going to do a whole crazy girlfriends live for 50 and 304s, man. Because I have a whole list of these crazy broads acting stupid. So, yeah. Okay, here we go, guys.
One teenager is dead, another in the hospital after a homeowner allegedly caught them breaking into his garage.
Let's go! Let's go! Guys, you know what that's called? Some dunderheads breaking into your house, right? And you break out the heater, take care of business. Colin, do you know what that's called?
It's called freedom of
America! Let's go! That's what that is. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Morons.
I'm Rupert.
And I'm Mimi Lang. The teens shot in White Lake early this morning were reportedly part of a larger group on the man's property. Fox 2's Scott Wolchak has the latest from police.
A total of 7 shots fired at 7 teens. One of the teenagers died on the way to the hospital and was found here just a street away on Halfpenny and Commerce. A second teen was also hurt. The other 5 scattered after the shooting.
People thought it was fireworks. No dogs went off. Nobody woke up. Nobody knew nothing.
White Lake Township Police say the group of teens triggered security cameras in this garage on Mandan Drive after midnight. The homeowner took defense into his own hands.
No, he actually, did injure one of them, which is good. Get off my lawn kind of thing.
Let's
Brandy
go!
Is a neighbor who caught the shooting on camera, but only wanted to share the audio. She says this garage has been broken into 3 times in the past year.
I hope you all get caught. And I hope that the injury hurts for a while.
We don't know what brought them there.
Police.
Tim Hicks says he dropped the video in Discord. 2 lesbians sue the dad for a dinner party. And it's just, Where did you put that, man? Let me see. Is that in? Let's see. Oh, and 3 News, guys. Hold on, give me a second. Let me see. Yeah. Let me know where you put it, or drop it in the general section. I might have missed it because I haven't had a chance to go through the Discord yet today. So, yeah, guys. Yeah, Tim Hicks, drop it again, buddy, so I can see it. So,
searching for answers.
Okay, it's in relationships. I'll look
as the investigation unfolds and have one 18-year-old and one minor in custody, looking for anyone else involved.
The randomness of it, just it's an unfortunate incident. We don't want this kind of thing to happen. So,
where is White Lake? Let's see, White Lake. That's in North Carolina, I believe. Yeah, guys, and I guarantee that they were Pokemon, right? You know what I'm saying? Steve 25, what's up, dude? Steve M, what's going on, my brother? Good to see you as usual. Good to see you, man.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Red Door's here. Sid is here. Rockin' Diesel's here. What's going on? Here we go, guys. Okay, my favorite. This says, home invader dies after homeowner defends himself. There, title fixed. Oh, this is in Michigan. Look at that, guys. Good. Oh, guys, look at this. Hey, Colin. Bro. Guys. If you read this title and don't look at it, Oakland man deleted at his own 4th of July barbecue. Guys, what do you think these people look like?
They look like the usual suspects.
Come on, let's rate the rest, guys. All right, guys, here we go.
Law enforcement was on high alert going into the holiday weekend, and yet violence still prevailed. Hello again. I'm Greg Lee. Police and fire crews in Oakland spent the weekend responding to hundreds of calls.
In Oakland? You don't say, right? You guys, Oakland is who run Barter Town? Master Blaster. Master Blaster runs Barter Town.
Amber Lee joins us live in Oakland after speaking with a woman whose husband was allegedly
Where did they get this from?
killed by a friend during a party. Amber?
Greg, the wife tells me her husband loved getting together with family and friends, and now she's in shock that the suspect is someone they considered to be a brother. This video shows Tim Conover hosting a July 4th barbecue at his North Oakland home just hours before he was shot and killed by a family friend attending the gathering.
Of course.
It just was like a rapid, like pop, 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 pop. So like that's why fireworks in my head and everything's going off. Like there's fireworks going on.
Sorry, guys. I know. You aren't understanding any of this. Right? Sorry, guys. Come on.
On everywhere.
But they were not fireworks. They were gunshots. Zazie Cribbs, the victim's wife, tells me Dwayne Stewart, known as Wesley, fired multiple shots at her husband as people were leaving the gathering. She says Wesley had urinated in their living room and that her husband repeatedly asked Wesley to lie down and go to sleep.
Whoa. Wait a second. So homeboy was so drunk that he peed in their living room, and he still let him stay in the house and said, hey, yo, man, just lay down and go to sleep. And Nug said, guys, think about how insane that is.
Yeah.
Think about how insane that is, guys. Guys, how many times have I told you guys, I will not go to anywhere where the majority of the people look like me. I just can't. Guys. Why? This guy was actually like going above and beyond being nice. Because I'd have kicked the guy out, honestly. If you're drunk and acting stupid in my house, out you go. But But he let the guy stay even after he pissed in his living room? Come on, man. Come on.
Because he appeared to be under the influence of drugs and alcohol. Her husband died in front of their home.
So I start calling 911, and then I run down to try and stop my friends so they don't drive off because I'm going to need some kind of dope. Like, it's midnight. Like, I don't
Is this supposed to be her crying? Like, what's going on here?
know what else to do. Like,
Oakland Police Officers Association says 5 other people were victims of shootings in various parts of Oakland during the holiday weekend. A police officer was struck and injured by a suspected drunk driver near Lake Merritt on Saturday while he was arresting someone. The officer was treated and released. Oakland Fire Department says between July 4th and July 6th, it responded to more than 600 calls for service.
600 calls for service. Damn. That's crazy.
And 15 of them were fire related. And many were caused by illegal fireworks.
We were heavily taxed and strained throughout the weekend.
Officials say illegal fireworks caused the fire at a duplex in East Oakland on Friday.
Well, guys, here you go. Watch this. And then we'll do an ICE update. Oh, look at this. These 304s are in charge of a school district. I'm finding all this news. Hold on, guys. Sorry. Here we go. Look at this.
Story we first brought you.
Look at this, Colin. First of all, Homeworld can get it on the left. You know what I'm saying? She can get it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
She's like all these babes. You get their pilot lit, they can suck start a leaf blower.
Breaking news on Good Day Atlanta this morning. Fox has Kevin Stewart joins us live at the Carroll County Jail. And Kevin, we understand the daughter of one of the victims has been charged with the killings.
Damn.
Yeah, that is the big shocker. The teen daughter is now in custody, charged with 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of aggravated assault. She is here at the county jail being held without bond.
In the Taj community just outside of Carrollton, they said this type of violence never happens here. But then it did. And detectives now say it wasn't a stranger, but the female victim's 17-year-old daughter.
Are you guys shocked?
No.
I'm not. You know what I'm saying? These crazy chicks here, guys. How much birth control and friggin' Zoloft do you think this knucklehead is on? Vaping? You know what I'm saying? Come on, dude. Come on. Look at that. So,
Sarah Grace Patrick, now accused of shooting her mother, Christian Brock, and stepfather, James Brock.
We don't know what goes through the mind of a child who wants to harm their parents.
In fact, investigators confirmed Patrick is the one who called 911 after her little sister, only 5 years old at the time, found their parent shot to death back on February 20th. Nearly 5 months later, deputies tell reporters a trail of evidence led the case to the 17-year-old.
She's 17. She's kind of been out on her own. She's lived with different family members and kind of moved all over the place.
Came back just in time.
Did not want her face shown, is a neighbor and friend of the family, including the suspect.
I hugged her and I told her that I was so sorry.
She feels betrayed.
I kept watching the funeral over and over when she was up there talking. I said, there's something about her. To me, she was fake crying.
You should know her biological father turned her in Tuesday morning.
Let's go. Hey, give her biological dad a round of applause, right?
Yeah.
Because he did the right thing. Look at that, man. Laughing man. What's up, dude? Good to see you. Time travel. What's going on? MS Best. What's up, man?
Pursued every lead, sifted through mountains of physical and digital evidence, conducted countless interviews, and
we conduct countless interviews, man.
Collaborated with agencies such as the FBI, the GBI Crime Lab.
There's no official word of motive, problems in the home, or prior calls to the home on the teen suspect, but Jody claims the mother shared what was going on inside this home.
All she said was Sarah Grace was bucking her because she didn't want to be there. She wanted to live with her daddy.
Investigators are, for now...
She was bucking her, man. Guys, we'll do one last story here, and then we'll... another cut. Dang it. All right, here.
Well, right now, a Georgia parole officer is behind bars on DUI charges after a multi-car crash on I-20 in Douglas County.
Ooh,
now,
we're going to follow this story, guys.
The driver of the car that was the Department of Community.
Are you shocked?
Of course not.
Are you shocked? This is going to go in Ponytail Patrol. Hold on, guys. There we go. Okay, so guys, here you go. Let's do an ICE update here, and then we'll get into the what in the world? Okay, guys, don't move to Atlanta. Like half these stories are all in Atlanta. Here we go.
Brentwood mother of 5 faces deportation. Her attorney says she hasn't heard from her in days, and now she says one of her children is in the hospital. And News 12's John Dowding joins us now. And John, do we even know where this mother is?
Well, her attorney is getting little details as she can, but she knows right now that she was transported to a facility in Houston. She has diabetes, and her attorney says her client is being given 1 cookie a day and 1 water per day. They're fighting to get her released on parole so she can care for her children who also have medical conditions.
The kids are devastated. They are crying out for their mother.
A Brentwood mother of 5 faces deportation back to El Salvador years after escaping violence in the country. The family of Nubia Martinez Ventura says she fled after her husband was killed by gang members right in front of her.
She's a very responsible woman. She's had to suffer a lot.
Her attorney says she's lived in the U.S. since 2016, is seeking asylum, has no criminal record, and was detained on June 11th after going to ICE for a routine check-in.
She's been checking in with ICE. She has not missed her appointments. There was no reason to detain her at this point.
Tim Hicks, man, I can't show this because this is copyright. This is I think this is ABC or this is an actual news. Like this is daytime television, so I can't show this. Unfortunately, I might if we speed it up, but I don't want to take any chances and have and have the stream taken down. You know what I'm saying? So, but maybe after hours, guys, on Sunday, we'll check it out.
Martinez Ventura was the caretaker for her children, including one with diabetes.
He's currently in the hospital because she was detained, and the doctor has corroborated that.
Oh, well, let's see if you can drop that, Tim, because actually go to the web. I mean, to the actual YouTube channel, I'll get cooked. You know what I mean?
And notwithstanding that, her deportation officer said that that's not his concern.
We reached out to Congressman Andrew Garbarino and Nick LaLota about this case. Congressman LaLota's office says federal law does not allow people to seek asylum years after entering illegally. And said, quote, I sympathize with those seeking a better life, but I encourage anyone here unlawfully to consider President Trump's Project Homecoming, which offers a $1,000 exit bonus and a free flight home, allowing for a voluntary and dignified return.
Goes against
Wait. Stop.
Unfold is the purpose of the mass deportation effort that we're seeing.
Local religious leaders worry detainments like this will discourage families from seeking help.
We're very concerned about how this is going to prevent people from feeling safe and coming to get food.
Nah. Hey, goodbye. Right, guys?
Okay, so hang on a second here. Am I missing something? Now we're paying these people to leave? What? You're like,
I know Sweden has been paying these knuckleheads $34,000 or $24,000 to leave their country.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like if you will self-deport, we'll give you money. Crazy, right? Yeah. Here we go, guys. So, guys, we're gonna do like another 5 minutes for everyone, and then we will go members only, guys. So make sure to either hit the join button and be a member, or hit the StreamYard link and call in if you want to interact. So here now, guys, this guy right here, he's going viral. He has a YouTube channel, but it's not quite like he doesn't have anything on it. But he's based, man, and he lets these two thunderheads kind of know like what's going on with men these days and why they're not dating. You know what I'm saying?
Judging by the comments we get on our social media, there are just so many issues. So many issues from the male side, from this very, and I know it's a big buzz thing at the moment, everyone's talking about toxic masculinity, but equally the narcissistic side of feminism, which I don't
Now they're Canadian. She's still, the mom is English and the daughter, she's 29, but they live in Canada, but she's English.
think enough people talk about. But I wanted to get your opinions on, like, why is everyone single? Why can they not meet? What is going on? What is the big issue?
Yeah, that's a very, very big, broad question. What I tend to do, both in serious, potentially contentious conversations, whether it's in therapy or just in platforms like this, I actually start with kind of setting the tone when it comes to letting people know that they have a decision to make of what type of listener they want to be. Typically, when there's these types of debates, interactions, or conversations, there's two types of people you can end up being. One is a person who's primarily focused on whether something is true or not, and whether or not your life aligns with that, or whether or not you need to grow to get your life more in alignment with said truth, or how said truth makes you feel. And based on how it makes you feel, that determines whether or not you'll accept it.
So in other words, men are the first one and women are the second one.
Podcasts and these types of conversations, people are going to be very tempted to want to go off of things that's being said and whether or not it's true, or not really about whether it's true or not, but how they're emotionally feeling about it. I'm more interested in trying to encourage all of the listeners and people that watch this to let's lean in more so on our logic, our reason, our rationality, and focus on whether or not the things that are being said are actually true about men, true about women in general, versus necessarily how it makes us feel.
Good luck.
And I think that that's important because regardless of who I'm talking to, if they have a particular in-group that they consider themselves to be a part of, whether it's men, women, LGBTQ, political, whatever, I kind of can't seem to find happiness. Social media and the advent of social media, which includes by extension dating apps. I think that those are the three major things, unfortunately, that has rigged the system for a very, very small percentage of evolution or sex conversations. Am I more focused on whether or not something is true? Conversations. Am I more just because I know that these type of things are really, really sensitive?
Here it is.
But in terms of the research I've looked into and thinking about this stuff for like over a decade, I kind of came to three main points. The first of which was the pill and birth control.
Yep.
The second was the sexual revolution or sexual liberation movement. And the third was social media. There's obviously way more things that can be listed, but I found that these were the top three major things.
Yeah. Colin, do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think those three things in and of itself are what destroyed. Now, here's the thing. Women get the worst outcomes in all this foolishness. That's where people go wrong. Men are just fine. Guys, there are guys out there going, I'm not getting any fine. But all in all, guys still have more freedom now than ever. Once you tell men, dude, if with the 80-20 rule, if you just tell yourself, I don't want to be around these 304s anyways, how freeing is that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
20% of the guys are getting all the attention. But the 80%, you can do whatever the hell you want. Guys, my granddad and my dad, the societal norm and expectation was that they get married and have kids. My granddad, by the time he was like 19, had like 2 kids, 3 kids, or whatever, because he's from Alabama. Everyone got married young. I think he was like 21 with like 3 kids, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's like the way I look at it is,
Oh, Colin, you're breaking up. Colin, you there? Uh-oh. Colin, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, you broke up there for a second.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's better now.
Yeah, no, the way I look at the Chads and the Tyrones, okay, yeah, they're getting all the poon, they're getting all the fun and all the action, but at the same time, it's like you're also getting all the drama that comes along with it,
Yep, it's true. It's true. Yep. Look, guys, once again, this is the cheapest time ever to be a bachelor. Guys, you used to have to make a lot of money to be a bachelor. You know what I'm saying? To be that guy who won't settle down and won't this and that, You know what I'm saying? In the 20s, 30s, 40s, rich guys could do that. Now you can have a regular job making $60K a year in a decently, affordable area, have a house, have a couple-year-old truck or car. You go on a trip every now and then, indulge in your hobbies, and be left the hell alone.
That changed the overall trajectory of how human beings looked at each other, valued each other, and even the general direction of what's happening to humanity in terms of the replacement birth rates. So yeah, we can expound on those 3, but yeah, the pill and birth control, the sexual revolution, and then also social media and the advent of social media, which includes by extension dating apps. I think that those are the 3 major things, unfortunately, that has rigged the system for a very, very small percentage of men to meet the qualifications for a large body or pool of women. And what both...
Now, the best part about this guy, he keeps this tone and this cadence and this interaction with these women. He's just watch how it's like he's lecturing them or he's educating them, and even when they decide to try and do that woman thing where it's but the men need to he goes no, he stays on track. You know what I'm saying? Just watch. It's genius. I don't think that this guy really realizes how viral that a lot of the clips from this show have gone. You know what I'm saying?
Sets of men, the ones that qualify and the ones that don't. There's good and bad things that have come from that as a result. But what I will say is that I think if there's an overarching conclusion as to why so many people, men and women, are still single, still frustrated, can't seem to find happiness, I think we get to a place and point when you've had so many negative experiences, so many failed experiments in your teens and or 20s and or possibly 30s. Both sexes will eventually start to naturally get to a place where they're basically approaching the other group or other side with very, very high skepticism. And they're expecting for that side to give as much as possible and for they themselves to risk as little as possible.
Which is what men have never done, right, guys? Men have always been taking girls on dates and just taking the L's and just, giving women the benefit of the doubt. But now us red pill guys, we're the ones saying, look, guys, Because here's the thing, guys, women are so quick to have one bad experience with nug or some abusive Chad and then say, well, all men do this. Women will extrapolate to all men so fast. It's always so funny that they argue. Well, not all, but they say all the time, right, guys? They will have one bad experience to say all men are cheaters, all men are this, all men are that. But men, and then also it's perceived, or they'll have a friend who said that their friend went through X, Y, and Z. If you look at all these women are getting SA'd, they don't know anyone who's been SA'd. All these women get cheated on. They don't know anyone that's been cheated on. They take on the trauma from someone that they don't even know, right? Men oftentimes don't come to the conclusion that all women are this way unless we've had our balls burned multiple times, right, Colin?
Yeah.
We know guys that have been falsely accused. We know guys that have had their balls burned and divorced. We know guys whose kids weren't theirs. We know guys whose chicks tried to pin a baby on them. We know guys who've lost their jobs because of some broad. We know guys that have had their kids taken from them. You know what I'm saying? So we don't make these observations lightly, but we have enough experience where we have to come to the conclusion that all these 304s are dangerous because it's safer putting your you-know-what in a wood chipper than one of these broads, you know?
So when you're highly distrustful, when you're extremely skeptical, you're going to approach relationships through a very...
Roblox, men use the word all when we mean to use the word all, okay? A lot of guys don't flippantly use the word all. Guys, women will... A lot of men are intellectually honest enough to understand that if I say that women do blank or black people do blank or whatever, that I'm not talking about all. If Colin says B-dubs do blank, I don't have to say not all because I know he means not all. Guys, when I say all, I mean all. I mean it. I don't say all unless I mean it. Yeah. You know? So
transactional, less patient, less open perspective, you're kind of increasing the chances for the interaction to probably not go well or not work. You're going to probably see flags that are probably neutral. You're going to call them red. You're going to, you get what I'm saying? Like, I think that's what ends up happening is that when we get disappointed, when we get divorced, when we get ghosted, when we get cheated on one too many times, the end result's going to be you're way more skeptical, you're less trusting, you're less open, and now you want the other party to give so much more, and you're trying to give as little as possible.
Because you don't want to get hurt.
Because you don't want to get hurt. You want to risk as little as possible. So I think between those three things I categorize in the overall conclusion of what I think is the motivating factor for what we're doing, I think that's what ends up happening.
Well, I kind of want to actually go back into what, well, like with that, you said that there's qualified and unqualified men.
Yeah.
What can you expand on that, on what that really means?
See, the very idea that there are men that are not like qualified to deal with chicks. I mean, like guys that are ignored. You know what I'm saying? Because guys, these chicks think that all of the guys are all Chads because most guys are invisible. So they're like, you mean there's guys out there who don't get me? Of course, you goof. What are you talking about?
It's for you.
Obviously, it's slightly different when it comes to an individual woman by individual person for sure. But there are certain, I don't want to say universal, but there's usually general attraction triggers that a lot of women will kind of espouse and express. One of them being they typically want a man that's taller than them, right? So by default, if you're shorter than most women, the pool of women that's even going to see you and you not be invisible to them is already going to knock you down quite a bit. So we can even jump into dating apps because I think this applies to what is it, right? A lot of women are typically looking for in the past. And when I say within the last like 5 years, this incel culture, this red pill thing, it was referenced on adolescence, this 80-20 rule. A lot of men between their late 20s and early 30s, they don't have to hear it on social media or hear it from some charismatic figure to start to realize and experience this was actually most of what they saw and experienced in their actual own lives.
It's true. Anthony, what's up, dude? Thomas Brown, how's it going? Rajai, what's up, man? Good to see you. Good to see you guys. The chat's members only, guys. So if you want to interact, hit the StreamYard link or hit the join button to be a member. Appreciate that. Steve, man, thanks for handing out a membership, man. Appreciate that.
When you were in high school, there was the popular guys and everybody else.
Yep.
So the popular guys had access to a whole, every other month it seemed like there was a new girl that potentially was trying to get his attention. It was the jock, it was the good looking guy, it was the athlete, et cetera, et cetera. In high school, you saw this guy who seemed to get an inordinate amount of attention from a lot of the girls. And then you had the quote unquote average guys. And then you had the guys who effectively just were kind of ignored. When you got to college, that typically looked either the same or started to worsen. But what happened with social media is it changed women's expectations and the pool of men that they actually thought they could potentially have access to.
Right.
So what that means is that generationally, 40, 60, 80 years ago, the pool of men that would even know this woman would exist was relatively related to her city or her town.
It's true.
Yeah.
Now it's a whole campus. Now it's multiple people from other campuses. Now it's national global market. But now, and we could even argue it's a global market that you're dealing with. So as a consequence, her view on optionality has changed because her lens is that, yeah, maybe the guy I'm looking for isn't in my neighborhood, but I can effectively come into contact with any guy on the planet so long as he has social media.
So shouldn't that also affect the men as well? Because they have access to all the women in the world now?
Yes, but that typically it splits into two categories. The men that most women say that they want and are attracted to, and the men that don't qualify. And when we say qualify, we can say attraction triggers that
See? They always want to do this tit for tat stuff. Well, if women do this, men do it too, right, guys? Always.
Yeah.
Always. It's not the same for men. But guys, that's one thing that I can say. Guys, if you're having an issue dating, right? Guys, go where the women that you think you're better suited for are. Because if you're short, go to Asia and date. If you're 5'9", 5'8", you're tall. You're taller than most Asian men. Most Chinese dudes are like 5'6". You know what I'm saying? Go to Vietnam. You're gonna tower over everybody. Go to South America. Even a lot of South American dudes are short. You know what I'm saying? That's how it works. Guys, passports are one of the easiest ways to equalize dating, you know? So
includes physical height, a certain amount of money or resources that they can kind of glean based on the type of lifestyle that he's living, the people he's surrounded with, you name it, where in essence, it sounds kind of bad to say, but like physical appearance, height, social cues relating to attraction triggers, and whether or not other women think he's also attractive and other men respect him, that's functionally the markers for whether or not a man's going to be taken seriously, be responded to, engage with multiple women or a lot of women, and potentially get access to no women whatsoever without having to pay for it transactional. That's the reality of it. So what's happening is I think that things are so skewed with these dating apps. We're looking at all the stats and they're all saying something very similar. Bumble is a great example because my wife and I met through Bumble.
Oh,
and
congratulations.
Thank you. We got married about 2 years ago, I think, and our baby was born last summer. And
what a success story.
Seriously, Bumble should sponsor you.
They should.
So out of wanting to like I'm so grateful I'm out the game because we joked around when we were first dating and she was first hearing about the incels, the red pill, blue pill, this and that. And she asked me about Passport Bros. And she said, what do you think about this Passport Bros? Like, what's with these guys? She's like, would you have been one if we hadn't met? And I said, yep.
Sorry, Passport Bros?
Bro.
You know what he's talking about, you goof.
Bros. Passport Bros.
Yeah.
What is that?
Passport Bros is where men are seeking the option of going abroad to interact and have access to women who for a variety of reasons. It could be just for recreational sex or tourism. It could be because they want to look for more traditional women. They may want to look for women who aren't nearly as progressive or feminist in nature in comparison to the West. It's a whole host of spectrum of reasons for why men do it. And she had asked me flat out, why would you do it? And I said, I'm going to be honest with you. Between my last relationship and meeting you, dating and trying to date was actually extremely difficult. I'm not a model. I don't make all the money in the world. I don't have the greatest physique. But I got a fair, decent amount of matches and interactions with women. Mm-hmm. The process between trying to get them to respond, then getting them to actually set a time to meet, actually meeting them, and it actually leading towards something was...
It's a mess. It's an absolute mess, guys. Right? Why would any guy date in 2025? Why? Makes no sense.
A lot harder than I had realized 10, 15 years ago.
And that's crazy because you are a good looking guy, right? Like,
yeah,
maybe you're not George Clooney, but like, that shouldn't matter, right?
Hold on. I mean, you know, I ain't George Clooney now, but we ain't gonna sit here and act like I'm Shrek. Right. But what it was I was realizing that there was a level of entitlement and arrogance and certain assumptions of what I had to give and offer to people who I don't think realized where we were in comparison to each other of the dating market. So I'm 35 now. So I'm going to give you an example of what this looked like.
Here we go.
While on the app, there was 2 apps I was on, Bumble, and the second app I was on was in the States. We had one called BLK, was Black, which is like a lot of Black people would get on it. And I was obviously in Philly. And when you get on the plane and land somewhere, the location shifts in the app. And I had to go visit a family member for her 40th birthday in Chicago. And this was right at the time when I like first met my wife, like my now wife, like 2 weeks into us knowing each other, meeting each other. And I left from Philly and I had a layover in Atlanta for 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And then I left from Atlanta, got to Chicago, got off the plane, walked outside and got in my cousin's car when she came to pick me up. Mm-hmm. And I turned on my phone and I had 70 matches.
Wow. Look at that, guys.
70. And I wasn't on the app. I wasn't doing anything. I was in Atlanta for 2 hours and I was in Chicago for maybe 20 minutes. And I had 70 women who liked my profile.
In Chicago.
That's how desperate B-dubs are. Especially in Atlanta and Chicago. You know? Because we all know, guys, in Atlanta, the majority of the dudes are anyways, you know?
Okay.
Between Chicago and Atlanta, the 2 hours in Atlanta and
crazy
20 to 30 minutes in Chicago, I had 70 women. I'm 30 at this point. At that time, I was about 30. And I don't think women realize what that means for all the men who look anything close to me, look better than me, make way more money than me, what their pool, who's on these apps, not for 2 hours or 2.5 hours, days, weeks, months at a time. I don't think that they actually know. So when you're in that position as a man and you're considered in the top 5, top 10% in most categories, and it's not coming from a place of arrogance, I don't think that they truly get that the man that they're willing to ignore 90% of men for, the leverage and opportunity and choice that he has.
Right there, guys. See? And this is why Chad and Tyrone are just annihilating the club. You know what I'm saying? And guys, here's the crazy part. If you've been that guy, because chatting and Tyroning is situational, right? So for instance, in high school, the captain of the football team doesn't have any money, but he has status. You know what I'm saying? Like who the popular guy is, who the guy who can bang the most chicks, it it all depends on the situation, right? You can have a multi-millionaire going to a Brazilian jiu-jitsu school, but the guy who's the best BJJ guy, or usually the instructors, are smashing all the chicks. You can be some guy who's some, super attractive dude who's rich, but in the yoga class, let's just say like you're like the one guy in the yoga class, the man bun Gavin instructor is going to be slaying all the chicks. He's going to be the Chad in the situation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not exactly cut and dry who that top 20% changes based on the situation. That's how it works. And that's why Passport Bros is just automatically, if you go to Thailand as a white guy, American, you're automatically in that top 20%, top 10%. Guys, no matter how much money you make, you go to like parts of Europe, South America, as an American, period, an American guy, you are in that top 5%. And this doesn't matter your looks, your height. It doesn't matter how much money that you make, because it doesn't matter how much money that you make in America. You're making more than freaking Gerardo in Brazil. You know what I'm saying? That's how it works. So,
So it's a very, very small example of I'm literally hopping on planes and leaving, and I'm not doing anything. And I had almost 80 women that initiated contact with me just by dropping in 2 cities.
Wow.
And Atlanta's considered the Black capital. Is a lot of African Americans and Black Americans live in Atlanta, as well as Chicago. So of course the data was probably skewed to a degree, but that's the reality.
A lot. That's a lot of.
Well, just for being there for such a short amount of time, like
I've heard people say that a lot, actually, that in a weird way, women have made this for men, like we've designed it, modern feminism, that they don't need to have a relationship, because all these women, why would they want one? But I want to go back to quite a few things that you've said, because it's an interesting age difference we have here. So you're 35, Susie's 29, I'm 52.
30 next week. Want to
She's
cry?
30 next week.
Want to cry?
Yeah. Cry her a river. Yeah. No. I obviously see it from a different perspective. I've been married for 25 years. I'm British, so it's a bit different in Europe and the UK. But for me, looking at these comments, so, I think to myself, from the comments you've made, the sexual revolution, the pill. Well, Gen X, all of my friends are on the pill. We're all, sexually revolutionized, shall we say? We weren't, we were already living, more promiscuous lives than our parents, let's put it that way. Okay. But all of my friends got married. All of them had careers. They're all educated. They've had children. So, when you're a woman, you have children, you've maybe worked at different eradicated because of Me Too. So, and we dated in real life. So where I met my husband through a friend that worked, I worked with this friend and he worked with this friend, and she kind of matched us up, which is kind of traditionally how it happened. Like a lot of people of my generation met at work.
Yeah.
Which of course we've eradicated.
And that's not happening anymore. Right, guys?
Nope.
Nope. Anytime that any chick tries to talk to a guy at the office now, homeboy says, "Run! Go! Get to the chopper!" Because of Me Too. So, everybody I know in their 50s, 60s, late 40s met at work. You can't do that anymore for fear of something happening. So that knocks out a massive pool of people to meet. That's what they voted
for. So I think to
for.
myself, and you were talking about high school, it was the same in my day. There were the handsome guys and the good-looking girls, and the people who weren't so attractive. Nothing has actually changed in any of what you've said there. I don't think. People got more dates than others and so on. What's changed is social media and this piece that you're talking about. You can see the possibilities being infinite, apparently, and and
even though they aren't. Here we go.
Either continued,
didn't exist, and the way people are meeting. I mean, it's just bizarre what it's doing. It's bizarre.
Yeah, and it's women's fault.
Yes, I agree with you that 2 of the 3 things I listed obviously existed during your time, but it did open the door and started something that led to what we got to today.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, what I would argue is, and I agree with you about the social media component, but reevaluate if the social media opened up the door in terms of our views and perspectives on optionality. If the sexual revolution and sexual liberation either continued, what did that look like and mean for all the countless couples and individuals and families where it didn't work?
Yeah, that's true. And guys,
And what were the ramifications?
I think Steve has said it. Guys, dating apps are for morons, right? Only idiots use dating apps. You got to be an absolute dunderhead to log on to Hinge and Bumble and all these idiotic apps.
Just the consequences of the increase in single parent homes.
Yep.
And
There
the
it is.
increase of people not knowing who their father was. And the increase of 1 in 3 paternity tests in the States specifically. People they can't identify who the biological father was.
Really? 1 in 3?
1 in 3.
Really?
Really?
1 in 3?
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah.
You think? Come on, man. Come on. What are you talking about? How do you not know that?
You stupid woman. And that's who's tested. So reimagine, you could do the math on all of that. So the point you make, and then lastly, as the push
Look at the
from
girl on the
60s,
right,
70s,
how
and
she
80s
had a smirk
on,
on her face. She knows that girl on the right, when they were saying those stats and all that, she had a smirk on her face because she knows that's like, she's like, that's definitely true.
Yeah.
She did.
of more and more women going into the workforce and getting more educated increased, the pill and birth control convinced 2 generations of women to push and prolong when it is that they should start thinking about children. And the problem was that as they simultaneously did that, they did not realize that when they decide, well, it's time for me to slow down, it's time for me to settle down, it's time for me to get serious about the screening process of who I'm going to cohabitate with, have sex with, potentially do life with long term, the competition is now different. So
that's true.
It hitting the window of when you're in high school or college, when it first kind of started, this was...
Yeah, Steve is right. Yeah, dating apps are rigged. Guys, another thing too is you have all these freaking like literal streetwalkers on there too, trying to hit guy as up. And guys, don't get me started on the Transformers that are on there. Street men only. Ugh.
You've been had. You've been took. You've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok.
Still an ever-growing thing. The full effects of it now we're seeing post-2000.
Right.
So that's really what obviously social media is the third big mega piece that really changes it all, but it actually also impacts all these other factors. So now, for instance, let's take birth control, recreational sex, and social media. What does that do to a young girl or woman's brain about seeing all these people traveling, seeing all these people purchasing all these things and all these lived experiences they want to have before they have children? And their belief system is, I can keep pushing the motherhood thing further and further down. I'll get to it 30, 32, 34, 36, modern medicine. This celebrity said that they had a kid at 38 or 42. I can get to it when I'm ready. And by the time a lot of them are quote unquote ready, the rules aren't the same. And I'm going to say something that I've heard, and I'm sure you two may have heard, about the mountaintop analogy in terms of the dating marketplace.
Hold on, guys. I'll be right back. Guys, check this out. This case. Hold on, guys. I'll be right back. Here you go.
I appreciate you taking the time today. Now, First Liberty Institute filed a charge of discrimination with the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission against Bath and Body Works. This is a really interesting case. Take us through what happened that led to that filing.
Absolutely. So at First Liberty, we represent Jocelyn Bowden. She was a store manager for over 3 years at a Utah branch of Bath and Body Works. And when a transgender employee started working at her store, after just one shift, Jocelyn treated her well, treated her like everyone else, was willing to use names or nicknames, but the only problem is she could not use pronouns in a way that was inconsistent with her religious and moral beliefs. And because of that, there was an HR complaint that was filed, and she was immediately investigated and fired.
So this individual was hired, I believe, in April, and the firing happened by May. So it was relatively quick. That's accurate, right? That timeline?
That's right. So this only happened a few months ago.
What was the official reason that Jocelyn was given for her firing?
It was a violation of their policies, accusing her of discrimination because of the pronoun issue.
So she came to a place where she was willing to use the preferred name of the person, right? You may change your name if you identify as transgender to something else, but not use the non-biological pronouns, just to recap. So she was willing to use the name, but not the pronoun.
That's right.
So, this is an interesting situation. What is the policy, and I'm sure you would know this at this point, of Bath and Body Works when it comes to the pronoun issue? Do they have an official one?
Well, what they did is they didn't have any sort of interactive process. There was no process for figuring out how to accommodate Jocelyn. It was you have to use these pronouns or you're going to be fired.
Yeah, guys. Isn't that crazy? You know what I'm saying? Guys, we'll have to dig into this later on, but here we go. Let's go back.
Women start at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reality. When you turn 18, in terms of the desirability factor, you start at the top. The moment you turn 18, you didn't have to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
You just had to exist. You have inherent value
Mm-hmm.
in the dating market with other teenagers, with men in their 20s, men in
true.
their 30s, men in their 40s. And that run from 18 to 25 is when you're probably going to get the biggest pool of men younger than you and older than you that's going to be interested in wanting to do life with you, and potentially for the reason of you being potentially the mother of their children.
Mm-hmm.
She's 29.
Yeah.
Sucks for you. Sucks for you. He knows she's thinking,
How dare you?
Yeah.
Chime in here just because since being the young one who's single.
Yes, the young single one.
You ain't young anymore,
The lie
sweetheart.
detector determined that was a lie.
Yeah, guys. Yeah, her being young and single. Guys, we all know, right?
Yep.
Right into the wall. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Obviously,
30 mile an hour
I'm not really
zone.
on the apps because I have just given up. Just for now, I'm just over it.
Yeah, right.
And I have I've not really been on birth control in my life, here and there, and then
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
like it, and so I use condoms, and that's what works for me. But
Yeah,
I
right.
do find it really interesting, obviously, that you're saying, I know the divorce rate is 52%, right? If people are getting divorced. But that means that people are getting married when they're younger and possibly having children when they're younger.
No,
You're saying
there's
that's not happening?
No, there's no correlation between the divorce rate versus when people are actually getting married. There's marriages lasting 2 years. There's marriages lasting 4 years. People are getting married at 25 and getting divorced by 29. There's not really a causal or correlated link to that. And that's the problem, is it's really the illusion of time. It's the illusion of time. And the difference is, when I was talking about that mountaintop, that 18-year-old boy has functionally nothing to offer most women that are single. He's the one that has the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
When the magic number for both sexes is 30.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that's the time, if he didn't get himself in a situation where he has to pay a lot of money out in alimony or child support, if he's not incarcerated, if he's been steadily increasing his value just naturally with work and making more money and building his body and his brand up. At 30, this is what happens. She one side, most desirability with the greatest pool of men, when she hits 30, I'm going to throw out a number. Let's say that's cut in half.
Right.
Yep. And that half is that 20% of dudes, right? Is Chad Wonderbang and Tyrone Thunderstroke. You know what I'm saying? Is all the lawyers and CEOs. Because once again, a lot of the guys that make it to their late 30s, early 40s, single with no kids, there's a reason why. Especially successful guys. Guys that are making anywhere from 80, 90, 100,000, 200,000 a year. Even the ones who want to get married, guys, they want to get married and have kids, and they were waiting until they had a lot of income. You know what I'm saying? And they're not going to be able to have, and a lot of those guys want 4 or 5 kids. Guys in the South, guys from foreign areas or whatever, like Chinese dudes, Middle Eastern guys in the South, Midwest guys. Seriously, they want a lot of kids. And you think that they're going to pull some friggin', they're going to dust off some friggin' 43-year-old broad and try to have kids with her, please.
Let's say they're still attractive. She's still desired. There's still a lot of people that want her. But now her competition is everybody that's younger than her and everybody that's her age and everybody that's a little bit older than her that potentially looks better than her and potentially has a better
one thing that they're not really talking about, which they don't have to, is the mental health part of it. Generally, if you're a man and you have been working on yourself and stuff and you're getting closer to 40 and stuff, you probably have a very good mind. You kind of know what you want in life and everything. So they kind of like, you've dealt with some demons in the closet or whatever. Women, they're just accumulating more. They're saying that they are, did a yoga retreat and all this stuff, but they've been with so many dudes and had so many bad ex-boyfriends and so many parties. They are accumulating the mental load of like garbage, but also they can't really like quantify any of this stuff within the dating world, but it is a huge factor, like a really big deal.
And the delusion's strong because they actually think that, hey, if I'm 45 and 46, I can still have kids. Or even though I might look young, because there's some 45-year-old chicks that look like they're in their 30s. It doesn't matter. You can't beat nature. And this is why, guys, I'm going to do another menopause. Well, I'm going to do it because I haven't done it yet. Guys, menopause still happens in their 40s, their mid to late 40s. And these chicks, they just can't wrap their heads around it. They can't. Guys, we have not evolved as we haven't like evolved more as mammals. Human beings are fundamentally the same now as we were 500 years ago. Just in the West, we're larger because we have more food. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like
probably actually weaker.
I don't know about that. Have you seen have you been to like England and you look at the King's golf clubs from like the 1700s? Everyone was like 4'11" back then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There was no like 6'3", 6'4", 7 foot people. You know what I'm saying? Like I would argue that, I mean, you could say stronger in that they were, they could probably, like an English person from 1750 could probably drink the water in Mexico and not get Montezuma's revenge. You know what I'm saying? But human beings now are stronger, faster, you know what I mean? Smarter, than people were back then. And a lot of it's because of nutrition,
Yeah,
so,
big time.
They don't realize that one of the biggest most just powdered eggs. You guys make sure to hit the like button, guys. Hit the join button for membership or hit the call-in button. Guys, one of the biggest things that helped with the development of the human brain was cooking food. You know that? When human beings had regularly started to cook food, cooking, especially plants, it breaks down the cell walls so that more nutrients get into your system and get into the brain. Which is why, once again, vegans are morons, right?
Yeah.
These idiots. I'm a raw food vegan. Are you stupid? Are you dumb? What are you talking about?
You need like fish fats, and that's what really gets in your brain, is like omegas and stuff.
Yes. And here's the thing, guys. The whole vegan argument is stupid because, guys, what's the first thing that a child's supposed to eat?
Like applesauce, maybe.
No. When a child's first born, what's the
Oh,
first
mother's
sustenance?
milk.
Thank you
Milk.
very much. And milk comes from an animal.
Yeah.
Human beings are animals. Therefore, we're supposed to have animal products. Dunderheads. So
Attitude than her and less negative experience.
I never had heard it put that way, but it makes a lot of sense.
yeah, vegans just drive me crazy, guys. It's like, do you really have nothing else to worry about? Do you really not have any real problems? Do you really like have guys, isn't it funny? Colin snowboard shred cloud here. Cook with me here. Isn't it crazy how vegans can be vegan but then be pro-choice at the same time?
Yep.
Damn, never thought about that.
Yeah.
Good point.
Isn't it
They
crazy?
usually go hand in hand too.
Yeah. Absolutely insane. So you don't want animals killed for food, but you want people killed for convenience.
And they'll say, "Yeah, I like dogs better than people." They'll like say that immediately without thinking about it.
Demons, man.
One thing I always think about too is like I got a he's not my friend now, but it's somebody I went to high school with, and I'll see his Facebook posts, and he's always putting up like all this like vegan propaganda, basically I could call it, because they just show like how yeah, exactly. And they show how animals getting mistreated. They show like some brutal. Like, obviously not every farmer is killing their animals like that, but they find somebody who is doing things in a sloppy way. And it's like, look at how cruel this is. And it's like, have you ever seen a like a nature show or something? Like, animals don't give a damn. They kill, and they're gonna kill the weak one, the small one, the one that doesn't have like
So the herd of water buffaloes chilling. They see lions, and there's good old Stan who's sick or who's lame, so they go and just kick him out towards the lion. It's like, guys, what are you doing? And it just drives me crazy because there's Instagram that I follow where like nature, with nature stuff going on, but it has all types of crazy stuff. And this warthog like got grabbed by this crocodile. It's like, and they're like, why are they filming it? Why aren't they helping it?
You've been had. You've been took. You've been hoodwinked. Bamboozled. Led astray. Run amok.
What are they supposed to do, you dumb?
That
What are they
actually
supposed to do?
That reminds me of a video I saw about a month ago. And it was honestly, even for me who likes nature channel type stuff, it was super brutal. It was actually a leopard or one of these big cats, not one of the huge ones, but one of those like medium-sized ones, like a cheetah, a leopard, one of these. It was taking down a warthog, and it was like attacking it from the front. And then as it was attacking it and kind of finishing it off, well, it was taking its time finishing it off for whatever reason. It was like slashing at the front.
Cats do that. Yeah,
exactly. But then while it was doing this, a hyena pulled up on the back of the warthog and was like stripping the skin and flesh from its legs.
Yeah, I saw that.
And in my mind, it's like, show this to a vegan, and really, for the average person, especially like I try to get my meat from a farmer's market if I can. These guys take care of their animals and like basically treat them like pets until they kill them. Like, they're not gonna get treated as badly as these animals are treating each other.
Go to China, see how they treat animals there, right?
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
I'll eat a dog. I'll have some dog meat.
There was a video of this guy, and he's filming his backyard, and there's a deer, and it's like, and there's a bear going, just like, bears are not efficient killers at all. You know what I'm saying? Right? And the guy's wife goes, honey, do something. And you see the camera turn, he goes, it's a bear. What am I supposed to do?
This is with man.
For sure.
How is that wild animal not entitled to dinner? You know what I'm saying? Come on.
I'm experiencing it. Like, I see exactly what you're saying. Like, not that I'm right now even looking for a relationship.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
Come on.
But
come on.
Like, there is the fact that I know a lot of my friends who are in their early 30s, let's say, and they are finding it very hard to find a boyfriend. Like, let's say they broke up with their boyfriend like 2 years ago, and they're trying to find a partner. It's very, very hard. But
she used that partner word, guys. She used the partner word. Here it is, guys.
Australia and other Westernized.
Here we go.
Well, what I will say in the States is 70% of all divorces are initiated by women.
Yeah.
80% if she's college educated.
Mhm.
So regardless of level of happiness, for whatever reason, men aren't typically, on average, initiating the divorce. It doesn't mean that they're all happy. That doesn't mean that they're all faithful. It just means that for whatever reason, that's not their go-to when they are unhappy. Now, how to make up for that unhappiness, they can stay at work longer. They can find other hobbies with friends. They can look for outsourcing the things that they feel their partner isn't doing with other women. There's a whole host of reasons for why men might ideally want to stay or not break up their home or have their kids moving between households. There just is other factors that's probably in their heads for why it is that they're choosing to stay. In the last podcast I met with the mom advocate, I talked to her about the happiness factor not really being something historically throughout almost all of human civilizations when it came to marriage.
Yeah.
That really was.
He's right.
Yep.
Because you had to marry out of necessity, and men were just fine with that. Guys, I'm telling you, why do you think there's a whole Fred and Barney at the lodge with the, what was it called? They would go to the lodge and they would wear the buffalo helmets or whatever, and they would all, because guys, they would do that on the way home before they had to deal with the wife and kids, meaning that their marriages, they weren't happy. They had to find somewhere to be happy before going home to misery. But men were okay with that. Men have always been in unhappy marriages. Men have always had dreams, and then all of a sudden their freaking high school girlfriend comes up pregnant, and then he has to, not go for a scholarship or do whatever, and then work some crap job until the day he dies. But we do it out of duty. These women can't even spell the word duty.
And a factor, and now it is. And unfortunately, you can't perpetually be happy. You can't always be happy. And you have a group that when they're unhappy, you have to kind of ask them. And I've even asked women this directly. If you have to choose between your own happiness or the happiness of your entire family, which do you choose? A lot of them are going to say their own happiness.
Yep, there you go.
It didn't even compute in her brain. The girl on the right.
Yeah. Because it's not about you anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, this is why they say that men will sacrifice their own happiness for their family. Women, they will sacrifice their entire family for their own happiness.
Yeah.
Yep.
a lot of men or a lot of women? Sorry.
A lot of women are going to say they're unhappy.
See that? A lot of men. Look at that, guys.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at that.
You stupid woman.
But when you ask men, the data speaks for itself. They'll stay in unhappy situations for the sake of the kids, for the sake of finances, for the sake of image.
Even guys where they got married young when they had no money, then all of a sudden they're like 30, 38, making all this cash, driving a friggin' big body Benz or a Lambo, and all the girls in the office are throwing themselves at them at happy hour all the way, and they'll still stay faithful, guys. That's how men feel. If I make an agreement, I'm going to stick by it.
For the sake of status or reputation, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't mean that they don't do things on the side to supplement that, but their view of happiness isn't nearly as important to them as it is to a lot of women in the modern age.
I thought it would be opposite. That's so interesting.
Of course you would.
That's why women.
Of course you would, right?
Of course, yeah, exactly.
Of course you would.
Like,
guys,
I'm astounded how women can get to this. Yeah, go ahead.
Hold on.
I ain't gonna lie. The only thing I'm finna increase is my motherfucking fist across your goddamn face. That's what the fuck. That's what's about to get increased.
ain't thinking it, right?
Yeah.
Shred, what were you saying, buddy?
It's so crazy that like women around that age, like especially when they're getting right to the end of the 20s, early 30s, she said it herself, all her friends are around that same age group. Like I'm in my late 30s. The last chick I dated was around the same age. Like we started dating when she was just about to hit 30, and all her friends were going through this stuff. And it's like some of them were average, some of them are decent looking, some of them are good looking. And it's like even the average to not so good looking ones, they've had so much opportunity to date from the time, like the guy's saying, from even before 18. The fact that she knows nothing about men, it's like, it boggles my mind. I don't get how they could, how are they dating all this time? And they literally, now when it's crunch time, they need to find somebody and just pick and make, and like, this is going to be like in their mind, at least, we know that most of the time they're not going to stick around. But they need to pick somebody to have a family with, and they literally know nothing about men. It's, I mean, I get shook every time I like buck up against this, but it's not surprising anymore. They
talking about horse people. They're everywhere.
But could you imagine as a man, you had the option of just dating young, old, any race you wanted. You could just get with all different chicks whenever you felt, leave your chick at any moment, just get on a new one in 2-3 days, and you just know nothing about women after 12 years experience?
Crazy, right? Crazy. Wow. Well, because they don't have to know.
They don't have to. They don't think deep either.
Yeah, what they have to do for women. But I did. Guys, Andrew Wilson asked that knuckleheaded Tommy Lahren, what are women's duties in society? What men's duties are X, Y, and Z? You made that clear. What are women's duties? And guys, what did we get? Does not compute.
Yep.
Aren't leaving happy marriages.
Yeah.
They're leaving ones when they're unhappy.
The statistics are that married men are the happiest group and single women are happy. Like married women are not as happy as married men. Like married men are more happier than married women.
So the funny thing about that stat, and it's threefold that I'll say with that. One, you have to wonder when in women's lives are they answering that question? Mm-hmm. When they're married, because I envision that when they're answering that question throughout the duration of their marriage probably matters. I think because statistically speaking, they experience a fuller range of emotions, and neuroticism seems to express itself more within the female population.
You don't say.
It's not unusual to me to hear the ups and downs of happiness, sad, ecstatic, depressed amongst talking with women. That's just not that's not strange to me in my field of.
Basically, what he means is if you guys, you can ask a guy in a friggin' in no man's land in a war, but he's got a hot cup of coffee and a decent ration. Are you happy, bro? He'll say, "You know what, I am." Guys, like, you know what I'm saying? Like men are gonna be happier in general than women. That's just how it works.
Well, even if you think about, like, your example is such a good one with the war situation, because if you think about some of your friends, if you have married friends, you have guys that you've seen them happier in their life before they were married. And at the end of the day, as long as they plan on staying married, if somebody came up and asked them if they're happy in their marriage, they're gonna say yes.
Yeah, that's true. It's very, very.
Because we have the dedication. So it's like we say we're gonna stick something out, then we're not gonna complain anyways. So like no married guy that's gonna stay with his wife's gonna be like, yeah, I really don't like this. Because what's the point of even saying that?
But even then, we really need to have a major problem to not be happy. And guys, I use the term wronged because I don't like it. I don't like the term like being treated unfairly, because fairness is subjective, but being wronged is not. Okay, being wronged, guys. Think about if Colin said this man wronged me in some way, right? You automatically jump to he stole from you, He set your house on fire. He punched you in the face. That's wronged. You know what I'm saying? He did him wrong. You know, men have to get to that status in order to say to get to that point in order to say that we're happy. We have something objective. Like, it's a guy whose wife doesn't put out, whose wife might nag him, might still say that he's happy. But a guy who's been cheated on, a guy where the kids aren't his, then he'll say he's not happy in the marriage. You know what I mean?
Mental health and psychology, honestly. And on the flip side, I find it ironic that in the age where women are using they're diagnosed the most with anxiety, the most with depression, the most psychiatric medication services in that era, many of which are doing when they're actually single.
Mm-hmm.
The self-reporting data doesn't do anything for me.
This guy's isn't he great?
He's cooking though.
Yeah, he's cooking.
That chick on the right.
He's a good communicator.
Yeah. And do you see how, like,
Very professional.
Isn't it the man? Actually, he stays on task. You know what I'm saying? Guys, this guy, he has a channel, but he needs to start doing stuff quick because he will blow up. You know? So
basically what I'm saying. The data, the evidence, the constant frequent disappointment of not being able to find an adequate partner, the constant need to overspend to supplement and make up for the lives that they can't experience with someone else, the high rates of student loan debt in the US, the high consumer debt amongst women in the US. I'm sorry, like, they can self-report all they want about how happy they are. They'll trade places in a heartbeat for the woman that's married that says that she's so quote unquote unhappy.
Sure.
And clearly in the US, we have no problem initiating and filing for divorce. So it's one of those things where I'm not saying people are liars. What I am saying is that I think
women
it's a
are liars.
multivariate analysis.
I was gonna say, we're saying that, right, guys?
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're saying.
Probably needs to take place, and that happiness is probably more on a scale than necessarily happy or not happy. So that's, my honest assessment.
Want to have a house and a materialistically successful life. And so that's sort of emasculated men to a degree, like things sexually. Can now be self-sufficient in the sense that economically, to a degree, you can figure out something sexually. You don't need a man to buy a house, compared to, say, my grandmother's generation, who, in fact, my grandmother had to get married because she was pregnant. That doesn't exist anymore. So you don't have...
And that's not a good thing.
You have to marry a man if you want a child, and you don't have to marry a man if you want to have a house and a materialistically successful life. And so that's sort of emasculated men to a degree. What is their role? Like, what are they? And the thing that I find strange is I find men in their 50s, or men that I know in their 50s and older, pretty secure in who they are. They've had families. I'd say I personally know a lot of successful men. They've had families. They've done well financially. They're not all happily in their marriages. They definitely don't hate women. Versus the younger generation.
Here comes.
And these are men
Here comes.
who also didn't, I'm talking about men in their 50s. They didn't grow up in this Me Too thing. So they're not afraid of women. But they understand.
Here's the thing. Men, first of all, guys, we don't hate women, right? Here's the thing. We are intimidated by women because they can't beat our asses. But I would say that in a way, we do fear them. And
sure.
To be honest, though, it's like, okay, sorry, finish your thought.
And that's because they have the system on their side. We don't fear them. We fear what they can do with the system on their side. This is like a homeboy from friggin' Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. You remember Master Blaster, the big dude had the short little guy on his back? But if you said anything to the short little guy, the big guy would mess you up. You know what I'm saying? Women are the little dudes sitting on the friggin' back of the big dude. With Me Too and all this other stuff, you say anything wrong, they'll call the cops, the courts, and you're cooked. You're cooked. So, Shred, what were you saying?
What you just finished saying was exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I don't fear any woman. The fact that at any point she could turn a whole system against me.
Yeah,
I got to be careful what I do and say around these people. But a woman on her own, if ever isolated from the system, I mean, again, it's not like I would do anything negative to a woman. I don't hate women. I neither do I fear them. But you would have zero. You wouldn't even have to give any thought to what she could, would, or might do, because they're not. They don't have power for a man to be afraid of, besides the like inherent whatever, the systematic power they have behind them, like you said.
Guys, make sure to hit the like button, guys. Hit the join button. Hit the StreamYard to call in, guys. Hit the super chat button. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's like the broads, the broads, they always, one of the most common things they say? Oh, men are just afraid of commitment. And for years now, men are saying, no, we're not afraid of commitment. We're afraid of divorce.
Yep, that's true. That's true. It's true.
And like it's been,
and then you come.
It's been said a million times, but it's like the whole intimidation thing. It's so wild. Like I got, like, both of my sisters are well educated. One of my sisters, she's a doctor, makes tons of money, and like she has a bunch of female friends that are the same. I've never met a woman that made more money than me that made me feel emasculated. I mean, their attitudes for the most part suck. I mean, some of them are still really feminine, and if they are, then they're great.
It's not emasculation though, dude. That attitude that they have. What happened? Okay, guys. Okay, people do have an innate sense of fairness, right? Even like chimpanzees and stuff. If you take something from one of them, they get pissed off, right? When you're treated in a way that's like, okay, it's not fair that if Snowboard gets in my face, I can hit him with the. But if some broad gets up in my face and says the same thing, I can't spin kick her. It's not fair.
Right.
That's what's so off-putting about a chick who gets in your face and says something or does something to you that's worthy of a friggin' power bomb. You know what I'm saying? You just think about how insane that is. If this was the Middle East, no, seriously. If this was the Middle East, I would friggin' tiger uppercut you. You know what I'm saying? Guys, put a 1. Yeah, I'm gonna open this chat back up. Guys, put a 1 in the chat if you have dealt with a situation where a woman said something to you or did something to you, and you would have said, I wish to God that I was in Kuwait right now. I wish to God that I was in Russia. You know what I'm saying? Because, guys, in those countries, guys, these guys, we've seen videos. These guys going straight up freaking Chuck Norris on these broads. And the cops come and they're like, you shouldn't be talking mess. Yeah.
Compare it with men, sort of 25 through in the workplace. There were no rules and laws, and I certainly lived that down. That was
able to experience with some of the things I'm going to say. But Melly, I'm going to agree with you 100% about, from the male lens and the reaction about modern men are being made to pay for the sins of a patriarchy that they're no longer a part of. That is, for a lot of men, this visceral reaction is the world and environment that their fathers or grandfathers were able to experience, were able to afford, were able to have access to, has been squeezed and reduced to a very, very small pool of men. And
facts, right? Right, guys? Back in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, that life where any guy can graduate from high school, have a decent job, have a skinny wife that's feminine and nice, will have his kids, and not worry about LDHG TV stuff in the freaking schools and all this stuff. Guys, that life is is almost unattainable for the majority of men, not just because of the money, but because of the women that you're supposed to build a life with. Even in the 80s and the 90s, when there was nothing but two-parent households, you still had women who were feminine, even though they had to work. The husband made most of the money, but the wife worked too. She still had that traditional mindset, even though she was kind of moving more towards the modern thing. Now, for all those factors, the money, the disrespect, the misandry, the cost of living, the stagnant wages, you know what I mean? The woke stuff everywhere. The life that gave rise to Gen Z, Generation X, Millennials, to this abundance that we have now, it's backfired, you know? So, Snowboard, you were saying something?
Yeah, it's also going to just pollute who your kids and who we're going to actually just be around, because like that's not going to be like a grandma at the elementary school teaching the kids. It's going to be a 304 girl who is equally as affected as everyone else. You know what I mean? So like that, a lot of their like delusion and mental illness and stuff is still going to be cast upon a lot of people on top of it. So I'm saying they had that in abundance before, where they had abundance of more peace, I guess, where they didn't have school council meetings and stuff. Like people didn't do anything like that in the 80s or 70s. Hell no.
Yeah.
That's the reality. And that is a consequence of women changing the terms of what it was required for a man to have access to a woman sexually, in order to get a wife, in order to have a child, in order to start a family, in order to not be a genetic dead end.
There you go.
I'm going to give an example personally. And I hope that this helps just at least to humanize, not excuse, but humanize where some of these unchecked emotions from men are probably coming from. My parents, when I was young, I believe I was in 3rd grade, we moved from Philadelphia to South New Jersey, in Willingboro, in the suburbs. And that home, 3-bed, 2.5 bath, huge front yard, side yard, backyard, was a house on the corner. That house at the time when they got it was probably like $120,000. And when they first moved, my mom wasn't even working. In order for me to get a comparable home like that, I have to make what both my parents made combined.
Oh yeah.
And in order for me to have a wedding like they had a wedding, how much do I have to make and spend?
For sure.
In order for me to get a degree, in order to make the money, how much debt do I have to go into? So there's an entirely different world of expectations that's being placed on a generation of men. So when the cost of living is higher, when the expectations are now elevated to a level it's never been in human history for any man, it's the highest it's ever going to be for anybody in the Western culture right now.
And AI will be coming to compete with us.
Your
Sure.
sexual counterparts are also making money, also entering into the workforce, and they are knowingly, or maybe knowingly, in the process of fighting for equality, fighting for their own liberation, getting access to education and money and resources. You doubled the tax base, and you doubled the workforce, and you stagnated wages for the men who were still expected to do this.
There you go. That's how I was leading up to, guys. So this is why guys are saying, why even try? So not only do you have to fight and claw to even get through the situation that's 10 times harder than all the men who've come before me, but I'm gonna get crapped on by all these dunderheaded broads at the same time. No. Nope.
Not to mention the fact that like when these girls are ready to settle down at 29, 30, like all those circumstances he was talking about, think about how many people get to avoid that. So you're talking about Chad, who comes from a rich family, didn't have to go into debt in school. Maybe they helped him get set up to like get his first property in his mid-20s instead of like his early to late 30s. And like that same chick on the right, we could probably all admit she's pretty good looking. she's been hooking up with those kind of guys for like 7-8 years. So like the guy that will actually settle down with her, he's never going to get treated properly.
Sure.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. By the time they're around 30 or so, like that's what I was saying. The mental health baggage, like that comes in the form of mental health baggage, basically, because they're going to be like, "This is my
100%.
trauma," and all. It's like it's a corrupted computer.
Yeah. Yep. That's true. That is very, 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 very true, man.
And then when she can't connect with the guy who's like been busting his butt to kind of get ahead. And he's like doing everything he can to try to figure out what's wrong with her. How can I help? The fact is, she's been messing with guys who were just like her, living on easy mode, and they were just having so much fun. When it's like this guy doesn't know anything about easy mode. He's been grinding the whole time. So like obviously, it's not going to feel the same as when you were with 9/11 or Pookie.
But it's crazy because you'll have guys that they hit their 35, 36, and finally they are Chad, right? They are Tyrone, right? They are Muhammad who could drop a deuce on a chick. You know what I'm saying? these chicks,
they're the shit.
Right?
Yeah.
These chicks have the nerve to try and tell him where he should and shouldn't stick his ding-a-ling.
Right?
The nerve.
He needs to settle down too.
Yep. Nope. All Muhammad needs to do is freaking stop by Taco Bell. You know what I'm saying?
Drink some of that Mexican water.
All Nug-11 needs to do is have a freaking gordita with some extra beans so he can, you know what I'm saying?
It came with it. So the ultra capitalists here,
who all supported feminism, right? You guys think that
in the States, the Rockefellers and other groups, that was a very subversive. They funded the very groups that they told women, this is the groups that are your advocates.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They funded them.
Yep.
So as you left the home, as you took on student loan debt, you prolonged the period where you normally would have been probably focusing on starting a family. When you come back out, your expectations don't go lower.
Yeah.
They go higher. When you went into college, you were maybe not making much of any money. When you come out of college, between the student loan debt in the States and the actual salary you're making, the pool of men that even qualifies is significantly reduced. What are you going to do with all of these men?
Yeah.
That's now being pushed to the margins and to the side. And we're not saying push to the side like women are kind of, they just play around a little bit. We go out on dates every now and then. We flirt every now and then. They are viewed as zeros.
Yep. Invisible.
Nobodies. Invisible.
Yeah.
And the numbers will fluctuate depending on the study, but a large percentage of women don't want to make 80K, 100K, 125K, and date a man is making half that.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, guys. Most women don't earn a lot of money. Most women don't even have college degrees, but they all act like they do. Isn't that crazy, guys? So, guys, what does the average woman make in the United States? What does the average woman make in America? Guys, guess how much the average woman makes in the United States?
I'm gonna guess 44.
I was gonna guess like 42.
Nah, dude, it's like 27, man.
Hold on. Hold on, let me see.
Just remember, 30K a year, that's minimum wage.
Let's see. Hold on.
Can I share a thought while you do that?
This is the median income here. So the average white woman that's 30 to 39 makes 36. It makes $46,000 a year. The average black woman makes $34,000. And then from 20, and then you figure we'll do 30 to 39 because that's when most people start earning more more money. The average Hispanic woman makes $32,000. The average Asian woman makes $60,000 by the time that they're. So you figure right around 38,000. If you take out Asian chicks, it's about 36,000 a year. Yeah. What were you saying, Shred?
Okay, so it was kind of aside from the conversation. Again, I was like looking at the picture of the chick on the right, and it's like, as these women age, it's just funny to hear them complain about like, oh, like I can't, like they're not getting the same kind of guys, or they're wondering why the guys are treating them different. But then the fact is like we know that when they meet somebody and they think this is a high tier guy, they give it up right away, right?
Yeah.
Well,
all the rules go out the window. Yeah.
Right. So even if this guy sees them and he's like, you know what? Maybe I don't usually go for chicks that are 30. I'll go for 22-year-olds. This chick still looks good though. Meanwhile, you know that they've changed up their makeup routine. They use more makeup than they used to because they're hiding the cracks. They might have had procedures and stuff like that. So by the time they get back to Chad's place and he's done everything he wants of them, including smushing their face all in the pillow, they don't look the same after.
Yep.
He's looking at her after and he's like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
she doesn't look anything like the 22-year-old I was banging last week.
There's two things. There's two times you do not want to see chicks, and that's at high noon the next day or under a black light. Hold on, someone has said, hold on. Anthony says 32,000. Hold on, someone had said, dang it, where was it? Someone had said, there's a comment that I was trying to find. Oh, Spacer says, so traditional culture makes you earn more. Yes, guys, the more traditional you are, the more money you earn.
Makes sense.
Like meaning Asian parents and Nigerian parents, they have a traditional way of thinking where you won't see them and yes, that it might not be traditional to like send your daughters to college or whatever. But here's the thing: they're saying, look, you can't. You have to go to school for engineering. Traditionally, you went to college for majors that made more money. You know what I'm saying? So.
I would say from my own experience too, like women that have had like healthy upbringings, they end up a lot of times being a lot less dependent on like that kind of social media external validation. Obviously, some of them still fall into the trap, but then they end up not being so dumb with their money because it's like they care about what their mom and their brothers and their aunts think, who don't really care if they're like showing out on Instagram.
But I think it's funny though that once again the whole myth that high earning women can't get married, high earning women can't blah blah. But Asians once again are the most married, the least divorced, right? And they earn the most and the most educated.
So they're still feminine.
Yeah, that's true.
For sure. So very true.
And if you plot him in any other point in human history, he'd have a wife and 6 kids, a home that's paid off. And maybe 1 or even 2 vehicles.
Yeah.
So you're taking modern adaptations, modern expectations, and being shocked when environments that's been very hostile to men, they've equated the toxic, negative things that men can do and projected that onto anything pertaining to be a distinction between men and women. That's how it feels. That's how it comes off. I think you both have referenced it at one point about this concept of toxic masculinity. It doesn't exist.
It doesn't.
There's toxic masculinity. I'm going to say it as clear as I can.
Yeah, there you go.
Masculinity and femininity are descriptions of positive behaviors in terms of care, nurture, provision, and protection. That's what it is. That's what being masculine means. That's what being feminine means. Either you're very nurturing and protecting, or you're doing provision and protection. Like that's what it means to be ultra feminine or masculine. The actual terms, that's what they mean.
Yeah,
they
sure.
are in the affirmative. They are positive things. So when you're calling something a toxic version of it, there's literally is an oxymoron. It's toxic people. There's men that do toxic things.
Okay.
There's women that do toxic things. But when a man steps outside of being a masculine man in a particular scenario, that's not a version of masculinity. He's just being a toxic individual. He's being
There
a
you
toxic
go.
man. But that's not a toxic masculinity. Same thing with, there's no toxic femininity. Either you're feminine or you're not. Either you're masculine or you're not.
Right.
So unfortunately, what's happening is these boys, and it's so pervasive. It starts in grade school all the way through the latter years, all the way through college. These are environments that overcorrected. And they switched from, we're in a patriarchal system where we need to factor and prioritize how men feel and men's perspectives on these things, and it overcorrected. This is why in the States, millions and millions of young boys are being diagnosed with ADHD and being put on psychiatric medication.
Right. It's crazy.
Because they're in a system that prioritizes how girls tend to operate, move, function, and think, versus any psychologist worth their salt would know that prepubescent boys and even boys going through puberty, how much extracurricular activity they need, how many various forms of expression they need.
It's true.
How their way of bonding is often physical in nature, how there's a roasting process of just in normal communication, and how that's designed to kind of build up his ability to be able to deal with the world when school is done. So you're shunning, you're penalizing, you're punishing so much of what it means to be a boy and a man.
Not crazy.
I got a question for you when it comes to that last point, because I feel like we're around the age where they really started to bring these drugs in, and like they didn't maybe give it to a lot of people our age, but they just started kind of handing them out to the young boys. Yeah. And like, do you know anybody that got prescribed this stuff where you look at them now and they just absolutely killed it in life?
No.
I don't think it helped anybody. Yeah, I think it almost like feminized them.
But here's the thing: we're getting our lick back. I'll tell you why. Because guys, who's the largest growing group of people that are being diagnosed with ADHD?
Women.
Yep, ages 18 to 25. Oh yeah, you haven't seen these things, guys. We'll shut this down here in a little bit. But go to TikTok and put "I have ADHD," and you'll see all these chicks talking about being on all these medications. So guys, we always win in the end. Always. You know what I mean? We'll be just fine.
You're having a huge market of people who are getting divorces and are now raising these boys with no father influence. Don't even talk about and ask about what's happening in the Black community. And then you're shocked when there's all this resentment and anger. What did you think was going to happen if you said all men are dogs and they're not needed, and we're questioning whether or not men are valuable, and a huge percentage of homes, the father isn't even involved, or like it just, at some level, you have to acknowledge, like, it makes sense why there's so much anger and resentment. My stance when I talk to young men or men, period.
Yes. So guys, we'll end it here. But guys, yeah, he is correct. You know?
Yeah, this guy was pretty good.
And guys, there's a part two that we'll go into, you know? And yeah, guys, this is why men aren't dating. Oh yeah, guys. So this guy's gonna be on Brutally Things show tonight. So yeah, tune into that. But he doesn't have a social. I mean, he has a YouTube channel, but he doesn't have anything on it. And if he can keep this cadence, but with just dunderheaded chicks calling,
yeah,
he'll be huge. He'll be huge.
He'll be like a Black Jordan Peterson of dating or something like that to these 3 or 4s.
I think so. But all right, you guys, I'm gonna shut this bad boy down. Plus, there's a storm coming in. I don't know if my power is gonna go out, but yeah, guys, we'll be live tomorrow. Guys, I'm gonna do an interview with Locke the Bounty Hunter. You know what I'm saying? He'll pick his mind a little bit about some things. So yeah, guys, we'll probably do about maybe 45 minutes with just me and him, and then we will open up the panel. So yeah, guys, I appreciate you guys for being here. Snowboard Shred, thanks guys. And yeah, guys, I'm out of here. Bye, guys.
See ya.
Later, man. Great topic tonight.